My beloved child, there is a reason you stopped here today, and it is not something ordinary. Something inside you already felt that a hidden movement has begun around your life. That feeling was not wrong. At this very moment, while you are listening, a story connected to your heart is quietly changing. A decision has already been made somewhere beyond what you can see. The person who has been thinking about you for much longer than you realize has just stepped away from someone they once believed they needed to keep close. Do not skip this moment, because what is unfolding carries a deeper meaning than it appears. Stay with this until the end, because something important is waiting for you. The truth behind this separation is more unexpected than anyone around you would guess. For a long time, your special person seemed calm on the outside. They appeared unreadable, as if nothing meaningful was happening within them. But beneath that silence, there has been a struggle. They have been quietly comparing what felt safe with what felt true. They stood between familiarity and honesty, between expectations from others and what their own heart could not forget. Recently, something shifted. A conversation happened. It was not loud or dramatic. To anyone watching, it may have seemed completely ordinary. But inside that moment, everything changed. While speaking to someone who had influence in their life, your name came into their thoughts again with unusual strength. It may not have been spoken aloud, but it was present enough to affect every response they gave. The person they walked away from was not random. This is why the truth feels surprising. The distance they created was not caused by just anger or disappointment or confusion. It happened because they suddenly understood that continuing certain connections would keep them far from what their heart has been trying to admit for a long time. And what their heart is trying to admit leads directly to you. There is more to understand here. The person they stepped away from had influence over them for longer than you know. Advice, expectations, opinions, and emotional pressure shaped many of their decisions. Sometimes your special person listened even when they did not fully agree. Sometimes they stayed silent to avoid conflict. Sometimes they chose peace around them instead of truth within them. But silence cannot hold back truth forever. There came a moment when your special person realized that every path they were being guided toward felt empty. Even smiles around them felt incomplete. Even approval from others felt cold and distant. In that emptiness, one memory became stronger than anything else. You. Not just your face, not just your voice, but the feeling connected to you. A feeling they could never replace. That is when the distance began. At first it was slow. Replies became delayed. Conversations became shorter. The tone changed. There were small excuses to leave early. Then something stronger happened. A full emotional withdrawal from someone who once held an important place in their life. Stay with this, because something meaningful is building. The surprising part is that the person they walked away from may still believe they have influence. They may think the connection still exists. But inside your special person, something no longer agrees. That connection began to feel heavy. Familiar words began to feel empty. Even simple meetings created discomfort they could not explain. Once the heart starts comparing truth with comfort, false peace becomes impossible to accept. And your presence, whether near or far, has remained a truth they cannot silence. There were nights when they seemed fine, but their thoughts were restless. There were moments when they tried to focus on something else, but your memory interrupted everything. Something unfinished connected to you kept speaking louder than everything else around them. That is why they walked away. Not loudly, not publicly, but deeply. The person they left behind may never understand the real reason. Your special person has not shared everything. They are still holding back words, waiting for the right moment. But inside, something has already become clear. They can no longer pretend that certain connections matter more than what their heart keeps returning to. Recently, they started noticing signs, small things that reminded them of unfinished feelings. A song, a place, a phrase, or even a brief moment that brought back a memory of you. These small reminders did not fade. They became stronger. Instead of confusion, they created clarity. And clarity created courage. Not complete courage yet, but enough to step away from something that no longer felt right. That is why the change seems sudden from the outside, but inside, it has been building for a long time. Every hesitation, every delay, every hidden thought, every moment they appeared calm but felt divided. All of it led to this shift. The truth is that the person they walked away from was connected to a version of life they no longer want. A life built on expectations, repetition, and emotional compromise. Now, for the first time in a long time, they are questioning everything. Especially this one thought. What if the person I tried hardest to forget is still the one my heart trusts the most? That question has changed everything for them. It has disturbed their peace. It has made ordinary days feel meaningful in a strange way. And it is the reason distance has already begun. Not because everything is clear, not because all answers are ready, but because truth has finally become stronger than comfort. Right now, your special person is standing in a quiet space between endings and courage. They are not speaking fully yet, but they are finally listening to their own heart. For the first time, ignoring the truth no longer feels easy. Something is forming inside them. A thought is growing. A decision is slowly taking shape. Their next step may reveal more than words ever could. But what happened after they created that distance is even more unexpected. They did not feel instant peace. Instead, a deeper silence entered their heart. It was not a comforting silence. It was a revealing one. It forced them to face thoughts they had been avoiding for a long time. They believed stepping away would make things easier. They thought it would remove confusion. But instead, your memory became even stronger. The silence did not erase anything. It made everything clearer. Then something simple happened. Someone asked them a question. It sounded ordinary. It seemed harmless. But it affected them deeply. They were asked if they were truly happy with the direction of their life. For the first time, they could not answer. In that pause, they realized the truth had already changed. What surprised them most was not the question. It was the image that came to their mind before they could respond. It was you. In every thought of real peace, emotional truth, and feeling understood, the image did not lead to the person they had walked away from. It led to you. This realization did not come suddenly like a dramatic event. It arrived quietly but with certainty, and it did not leave. After that moment, everything around them began to feel different. Conversations lost meaning. Messages felt unimportant. Even people close to them noticed a shift, though they could not understand why. Your special person is carrying something they have not spoken. They are beginning to understand that some doors close not because something failed, but because their heart can no longer accept what is not true. The connection they left behind may have seemed practical and accepted by others, but inside, it never felt complete. And every time your memory returned, that incomplete feeling became stronger. It happened again recently. A voice, a phrase, a small detail, something no one else noticed. And suddenly, they were no longer present where they were. Their thoughts had already returned to you. Now, something has changed. They are no longer asking if they should forget these feelings. They are asking why these feelings never disappeared. Why, after distance, distraction, routine, and silence, your presence still returns with such strength. That question is still with them, and it is not fading. Why certain emotions were never fully replaced has become a question they can no longer ignore. Every attempt to move forward has left behind one empty space. That space has not disappeared, It has only grown clearer. And that space continues to carry your presence more strongly than before. There is something even more surprising unfolding now. After creating distance from that important person, your special person has started protecting their inner thoughts more carefully. They are no longer explaining everything to everyone. They are no longer allowing others to influence their emotional decisions so easily. They have become quieter. They observe more. They speak less. They think deeper. This change is not without reason. They sense that what they are feeling now may lead to a choice they are not ready to share yet. But it is also a choice they cannot ignore for much longer. Stay with this, because something meaningful is building. Recently, they have been replaying certain memories. Not random ones, but very specific moments. Things that once seemed small now feel important. A short conversation, a single glance, a simple sentence, even a silence that now feels full of meaning. As these moments return, one realization keeps coming back. Some connections never fade because they were never ordinary. This truth is becoming stronger inside them every day. Even while trying to appear calm, they are now measuring everything differently. People around them no longer receive automatic trust. Advice does not enter as easily as before. Outside voices are losing their influence. Their inner truth has become louder. That is why they walked away. But this is also why what comes next may surprise you even more. Because distance from one person has created a new clarity. It has pointed their emotions in another direction, towards something unfinished, towards something they never fully explained, toward a connection they once believed time would weaken, but it did not. Toward you. There is another detail that changes everything. Your special person has started noticing how often they almost reach out to you. They come close to speaking, then stop. They think about acting, then wait. This hesitation is not because they do not feel anything. It is because they understand that once they take that step, something real will begin. And they are aware of it. That is why every possible move feels important. Every thought feels heavier. Every quiet moment carries more meaning than before. While others may believe they simply ended one connection, the deeper truth is different. They created that distance because another truth became impossible to ignore. That truth is now growing quietly, but strongly. And now something has already begun inside them that no one else can see. They are entering a phase where silence is no longer empty. Silence has become preparation. From the outside, they may still look the same, calm, composed, unchanged. But inside, something is moving with strong force. A decision that once felt far away is now very close. They can feel it in quiet moments, especially when they are alone. After walking away, they thought time would settle everything. But time has done something else. It has revealed things they had been ignoring. They have started noticing how often they were pretending in situations where they no longer felt connected. They noticed how certain conversations drained them. They noticed how their mind would drift whenever someone spoke about the future. Because deep inside, they already knew something was incomplete. And that incompleteness always pointed in one direction. Toward one feeling. Toward one presence. Toward you. What surprised them most recently was not simply remembering you again. It was realizing that even after trying to move forward in practical ways, your presence still holds emotional weight that no one else has replaced. This realization unsettled them. It forced them to ask a difficult question. Why does one person remain so deeply present, even when life continues to move forward? This question follows them everywhere now. In quiet moments, in conversations, while looking at messages they no longer feel interested in answering. Even when they try to focus on something else, the question returns. And each time, the same understanding becomes stronger. Some connections remain because they were never shallow. There is another layer to this. The person they walked away from represented stability, familiarity. something others could easily understand. But now, familiarity is no longer enough. When the heart begins asking for truth, comfort alone cannot satisfy it. Your special person has started realizing that some relationships continue only because people become used to them, not because they still feel real. This realization was not easy. It disturbed them. Because once they saw it clearly, they could not return to pretending everything was fine. Now, they are paying close attention to everything around them. They are noticing who brings peace and who brings pressure. They are noticing what feels natural and what feels forced. They are noticing who enters their thoughts gently and who feels like obligation. And in all of this quiet observation, your place remains different. There is something they have not said aloud. There have been moments recently when they almost reached out to you, almost sent a message, almost looked for a sign, but they stopped. Not because the feeling was gone, but because they know that once they act, everything will change. This hesitation is meaningful. It shows that this is no longer a passing thought. It shows that they understand the weight of what they feel. It shows that they know once certain words are spoken, nothing will remain the same. Recently, someone close to them noticed a change. Not clearly, but enough to ask why they seemed distant. Your special person answered carefully. They avoided details. They gave just enough to end the conversation. Because the truth is not easy to explain. It is difficult to explain why one person's memory becomes stronger when it should have faded. It is difficult to explain why walking away from one important connection makes another one impossible to ignore. It is difficult to explain why peace is no longer found in what is present, but in what remains unfinished. They do not have simple answers, so they remain quiet. But inside, their thoughts are not still. Thought after thought is building toward one clear understanding. They walked away from one chapter because another chapter was never emotionally finished. And that unfinished chapter still carries your presence. There are moments, especially late at night, when they reflect deeply. They think about choices they once defended. They replay conversations and wonder why certain words stayed with them. They revisit moments that once seemed small but now feel important. They question why certain emotions return stronger even after trying to control them. And each time they search for honesty, they arrive at the same truth. Something real was never fully closed. That is why walking away happens so suddenly. That is why their heart feels quieter but heavier. That is why they can no longer continue anything that feels incomplete. While others may believe they simply changed direction, the deeper truth is different. They are beginning to understand who has truly remained present in their inner world through every change, every distraction, every delay. And once that understanding becomes clear, silence itself begins preparing the next step. Right now, they are not acting openly. They are not explaining themselves. They are not revealing everything. But they are listening more carefully than ever before to what their heart has been repeating in quiet moments. And that quiet repetition is growing stronger each day. There is a thought that has returned to them with new strength. They are beginning to sense that walking away from one person may have created space for a truth they delayed for too long. This thought has changed how they see everything. And once a thought like this takes root, nothing remains ordinary. Then something unexpected happened. A simple moment, ordinary from the outside, but powerful inside. They were not searching for answers at that time. They were just moving through their day, trying to stay focused, trying to remain practical. But suddenly, a memory returned with unusual clarity. It was not distant or unclear. It was vivid, strong, impossible to ignore. More than the memory itself, it was the feeling attached to it that affected them. A feeling they had once tried to label as temporary. But now, they could no longer dismiss it. Instead of pushing it away, they allowed it to stay. That had not happened in a long time. Usually, they would distract themselves quickly. they would shift their attention to something else. But this time, they stayed with the feeling. They allowed the silence to speak. They allowed the memory to unfold completely. And in doing so, they understood something that had been hidden for a long time. The person they walked away from never carried the same emotional depth that your presence still holds. This realization did not come easily. It unsettled them, because it showed them how much of their recent life had been shaped by habit instead of true feeling. Some connections continued because they were easy to maintain. Some conversations continued because ending them required courage. Some expectations were followed because expressing the truth felt difficult. But something has changed. Courage has started growing inside them, slowly but steadily. That is why the distance they created no longer feels temporary. It feels intentional. They have also started noticing something unexpected. After stepping away, they did not miss what they thought they would miss. Instead, they felt space. Space to think. Space to question. Space to understand what truly matters to them. And what remained in that space surprised them. Because what remained was not confusion. What remained was not the past they left behind. What remained was something that still felt alive, something that still carried meaning, something that still pointed toward you.